In the village of Omu, there lived a woman named Agony. She had been married to Obinna for 15 years without a child. In a village where fertility was celebrated and childlessness was considered a curse, Agony became the subject of endless gossips. At first, she bare the insult without thinking much about it, believing that the gods would soon bless her. But as the years passed, the villagers' gossips turned into open ridicule. The other women, especially those with children, would laugh at her misfortune. Some would say, "What use is a woman who cannot bring forth life?" Others would mock her and say to her face, "Obinna should take another wife. Perhaps she would give him strong sons." Even her husband's family were not helping. Her mother-in-law made life a living hell for her. She insulted her at every given opportunity. "You have tied my son down with your barrenness," she would say, shaking her head in anger. If he had married another woman, by now he would have many children running around. Obinna, though heartbroken, remained loyal to Agony. He loved her deeply and refused to take another wife, despite the pressure from his family. But Agony knew that love alone could not save her from the pain of being childless. One evening, after yet another day of ridicule from the villagers, Agony sat by the river bank, weeping. She had heard stories of the powerful river goddess, Nne Mmiri, who could grant the deepest desires of those who sought her. But it was also said that her gifts always come with a huge price. With desperation, Agony wiped her tears and stood up. If the goddess could give her a child, then no price was too high. That night, under the full moon, Agony made her way to the sacred river. The water bright as liquid silver, and the air was thick with the presence of the underworld. Taking a deep breath, she knelt down by the river bank and called out, "Nne Mmiri, mother of the waters, I seek your mercy." The river rippled, and from its depths arose a figure, tall, beautiful, with skin like polished ebony and eyes that gleamed like stars. The river goddess, adorned in flowing garments of water lilies, looked at Agony with a faint expression. "You seek a child," Nne Mmiri said, her voice echoing like the waves. Agony nodded eagerly. "Yes, great mother, I would do anything." The goddess studied her for a moment before speaking. "I can give you what you seek, but everything in this world has a price." Agony replied desperately, "Name it, and I shall pay." Nne Mmiri's eyes darkened. "The child I will give you will belong to me. On her 15th birthday, she must return to the river." Agony's breath caught in her throat. Return to the river? She knew what that meant. The child would not live beyond 15 years. Could she bear such a fate? Tears filled up in her eyes. But then she thought of the pain she had endured, the mockery, the loneliness, the shame. Even if it's only for 15 years, she wanted to know the joy of motherhood. With a trembling heart, she said, "I accept." The goddess extended her hand, and Agony took it. A rush of warmth flooded her body, and she collapsed into unconsciousness. Months later, Agony's belly swelled, and the entire village was surprised. Gossip spread all over the village. Had she gone to a healer? Had she been cursed before? But Agony remained silent, knowing the truth could never be spoken. On a night when the stars shined brighter than ever, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Her skin was smooth like the river stones, her eyes as bright as the moonlight waters. Agony named her Chizaram, meaning God has answered my prayers. For the first time in years, Agony felt whole. The villagers who once mocked her now envied her. Even her mother-in-law, who never gave her a moment of peace, carried Chizaram with pride. Obinna was overjoyed, and their home was filled with laughter. Years passed, and Chizaram grew into a lovely girl. Her beauty was a topic of discussion all over the village. But there was something strange about her. She was drawn to the river. She would sit by the banks, singing beautiful songs. Agony, her mother, tried to stop her by telling her many scary things about the river. But Chizaram would smile warmly and tell her mother not to worry, that nothing will happen to her. As her 15th birthday approached, Adanne's heart grew heavy. The time was near for her precious jewel to return back to the goddess. She wished she never agreed. How could she let her only source of joy go? What will happen to her after that? Adanne battled with this pain until the final day. On the eve of her daughter's 15th birthday, Adanne could no longer keep the truth hidden. She called Chizaram to her hut, with tears streaming down her face. "My child, there's something I must tell you." Chizaram sat calmly and listened to her mother, her bright eyes dimming as she heard of the bargain made before her birth. For a long moment, she was silent. Then she smiled softly. "I have always known, mother." Adanne was surprised to hear this. "What do you mean?" Chizaram touched her mother's face gently. "The river calls to me. I have heard its voice in my dreams, telling me about my destiny. But I do not fear it, for I was never truly yours to keep." Adanne cried bitterly, holding her daughter close. "No, there must be another way. I will not let you go." But there was nothing Adanne could do. It was decided already. On the night of her 15th birthday, the whole village gathered to celebrate with the family. They danced, ate and drank without knowing what was about to befall on Adanne. When it was time, Chizaram walked out of the crowd as if someone was pulling her away. The villagers followed her quietly as Adanne asked them not to stop her. She walked into the edge of the river. Everyone gathered, watching with fear. Adanne held her daughter, but Chizaram gently pulled herself away. "Mother, do not cry. You gave me life, and for that, I'm grateful. But now, I must return to where I belong." Chizaram stepped into the water. Within a twinkle of an eye, she was gone. Silence filled the night, broken only by Adanne's cry. She fell to the ground, her heart shattered. For days after Chizaram vanished into the river, Adanne refused to eat or speak. The villagers, once filled with admiration for her miraculous child, now whisper in fear and confusion. How could a girl just disappear into the river? Some villagers murmured. Did Adanne sacrifice her own daughter to the spirits? Others speculated. Even her husband Obinna was tormented with grief and disbelief. He had rushed into the river that night, hoping to pull Chizaram back, but the river was silent, as though she had never existed. His mother was the loudest among those who demanded answers. She stormed into Adanne's hut one evening, her voice sharp with accusation. "Adanne, tell us the truth. What happened to my granddaughter? You did something to her. We all saw her walk into the river, as if it was calling her." The other villagers gathered outside, demanding an explanation. Their faces were filled with anger, confusion and fear. To them, no child simply disappeared. Something unnatural had happened, and they needed to understand. Adanne, still filled with grief, knew she could no longer hide the truth. She had already lost her daughter. What more was there to fear? She stood before them, her voice steady despite the sorrow in her heart. Chizaram was never truly ours. She was a gift from Mmemmiri, the goddess of the river. And like all gifts from the gods, she had to be returned. The villagers, filled with surprise as they looked at each other, their eyes open in fear. Obinna stepped forward, his eyes filled with anger. "What are you saying, Adanne?" She looked at her husband. With a trembling voice, she started telling her story. 15 years ago, when the pain of childlessness became too much to bear, I went to the river and begged the goddess for a child. She granted my wish, but in return, Chizaram had to return to the waters on her 15th birthday. I knew this day would come, but I could not tell you. Her mother-in-law shook her head in surprise. You bargained with the spirit? You gave away your own child before she was even born? Adane's eyes filled with tears. What choice did I have? She cried. Should I have remained barren forever? Would you have rather I live my whole life mocked and ridiculed by everyone? I choose to love her for as long as the gods allowed, even if it meant losing her in the end. The villagers, talking among themselves, some still doubted. Others, remembering how Chizaram had always been drawn to the river, began to believe. Obinna fell to his knees, his hands gripping his head. How could you not tell me? He cried. Because I was afraid, my love. Afraid you would hurt me. Afraid you would try to stop what could never be stopped. Tears streamed down Obinna's face. He wanted to be angry, but deep down, he had always felt something was different about their daughter. The way she spoke of the river, the way the waters seemed to embrace her, the way she never truly feared it. Slowly, all the villagers realized Adane was saying the truth. They remember how Chizaram's presence had always felt different. Her beauty, her grace, her way of knowing things beyond her age. An elderly man finally spoke. The gods do not give without asking for something in return. Adane has spoken the truth. Chizaram was not meant for this world. A moment of silence fell over the crowd. The anger began to fade, replaced by sadness and understanding. In the following weeks, the village no longer gossiped about Adane. Instead, they spoke of her strength, bravery, and sorrow. They built a small shrine by the river, where they placed offerings to Nnemiri and Chizaram, the lost daughter of the waters. Obinna, though still grieving, held his wife close. He had lost a daughter, but he would not lose his wife too. His mother, who was once Adane's worst nightmare, became silent. She no longer spoke harshly to Adane, for she had come to understand the depth of a mother's sacrifice. And Adane, though her arms would always feel empty, found solace in knowing that her daughter had never truly been taken away from her. On quiet nights, she would sit by the river, listening to the gentle waves. And sometimes, when the moon was full and the air was still, she could hear Chizaram's voice, singing softly to calm her broken heart. Alright guys, this brings us to the end of the story of Adane. Please drop your comments and tell us what you have learned from the story. What is the moral lesson of the story? Drop your comments and let's hear from you guys. And don't forget to like and share this video. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please subscribe and also turn on the bell so you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. Thank you. See you guys in my next video. Bye for now.